Yeah, the session has been recording. About your questions or anything you have, so that is something you can put it in a chat window. There's a question section, separate question section. You can put it there also. I am there. Sumit is there. We guys will help you out. About speakers, today's speakers are Vikas and Greg. So Vikas and Greg, if you can introduce yourselves.
Sure, glad to. Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm Greg Clark. Thank you to the Kochi Meetup team for inviting me to talk with you today and introduce Composer and what it is, what market we're addressing, its value proposition, and some high level reference architectures. So you can see how Composer fits in and complements our Anypoint platform. So I'm excited to be here and we'll get started after intros. Thank you.
Hi everyone,
Vikas.
very good evening. Excited to be here, and thanks again to Supriya and Sumit for having us on the stage today. And we are going to talk about Composer, its proposition, and how it places and solves our business requirement, and what's the journey ahead. So, would love to talk about Composer today. Thanks.
We are organizers. So myself, Supriya, I'm a Kochi MuleSoft Meetup leader, as you see. I have 8+ years of experience. The entire experience is into integration. So currently, I'm into the MuleSoft solution and platform architecting work. And yeah, I think that's it about me. Today, Sandeep is not there. He's also one of our co-organizers. And I hand it over to Sumit now.
Sure. Thanks, Supriya. So myself, Sumit Ahuja. I have total 6.5 years of experience in integration and MuleSoft. I am also one of the Kochi MuleSoft Meetup leader. So I'm working currently in Wipro as an integration architect. I think Supriya has covered a lot of stuff on the recordings and all. So there is a separate Q&A section. So how the session it will be? So we will take few pauses in between the session and we'll take the questions if any. So all to place your questions in Q&A section only, so that it will be easy for us to track all the questions. And also in the end there will be feedback link, so that will be very important for us. So it will be like, you guys please help us to help you out in the next session. So we'll take the suggestions, or if any, in the feedback, and we'll try to get in a better shape from next time in that way. I hope you will enjoy the session. Thanks for joining. In
Uh,
that case, I think we can hand over to
Sumit,
Vikas.
can you also explain the community details and meeting agenda?
Yeah, please. So meeting agenda, it will be like, you can register the meetups page via the following links and all this stuff. So the topic for today's Composer value proposition. So it will be followed by the use cases, connectors, features, and also key components, and followingly with the demo. And in the end, we'll have a trivia questions where in the three questions are going to be asked. So we will place one by one, and the winner of those questions will be getting an free training vouchers. So we will explain at that time. So do not leave the event in between the session. Wait for the trivia in the end. Thank you.
So there are some community details, reference links for the blogs, for the forums, for any help you required further, and also as like we guys are socially really active. So for any help, if you're new into the MuleSoft or want to know something more, so you can just buzz us anytime. Okay, so I now hand it over to Vikas and Greg. All the best, guys, and I'll just stop sharing.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Supriya.
thank
Thanks.
you.
So, Greg, I will start sharing the screen, and
Sure.
you guys can give me a thumbs up in chat or something so that I know my screen is visible to all. Okay.
Yes, it is visible.
Yep.
Okay. Great.
Right. Hey team, thanks. So this is Greg. I'm going to kick off. I'm going to do the first part of this, and then I'm going to turn it over to Vikas to do the deeper dive into some of the key components in the demo. And then we also, you can see on the agenda, we have some fun trivia questions just to make this interactive
Yeah.
at the end of this meeting agenda. Just make sure what what we're presenting, people are, that you understand it, or if you have questions, we can answer them as well. But just make it a little more interactive towards the end of this presentation. So we're going to kick it off, and I'm going to take you through some of the history of why Composer even exists, and then talk about its key benefits and use cases. So first, I want to get into the vision and the value proposition of why MuleSoft came to market with Composer. So go ahead, Vikas. Okay, team, what we've been seeing in the market and what's been reported across, many, industry analysts as well, is that, IT teams, the burden on IT continues to grow, right? We, no matter what industry we're in, I think all of us that have worked in IT, even for a short period of time, know that we as IT resources, we're always working from a backlog of projects, right? The business teams that we support, and you can see them over here on the right? Different lines of business within large organizations, whether it's marketing, HR, right? Engineering. All these various lines of business are always increasing demands on IT to deliver projects faster, to deliver value faster. So what does that mean, right? These business teams are requesting that their business processes be delivered and automated at a more increasing rate. And you can see across the board, as stated here, over 94% of IT leaders report the need for more integration, across the entire organization. So what's the impact of that on IT, right? And we see that on the next slide. So you can see, and especially for everyone on the call that's familiar with MuleSoft, in how we talk about the ever increasing IT gap, right? Business teams, right? They can help us now close it, and that's the value proposition behind Composer, right? You can see throughout history, especially over the past, probably a couple of decades now, you can see as cloud computing and software as a service starting coming to the market, right? That increased demands of mobile apps and integrated devices, IoT, right? The Internet of Things. Everything's connected now. And then on top of that, artificial intelligence solutions. So what does that happen? As you can see here, as you go from left to right, the demands on IT to deliver has increased. But if you notice left to right over time, the investment or the delivery capability or the delivery capacity of IT teams has really stayed, level. So that's created this widening gap over here on the right. The ability to, close that gap continues to increase and increase. Well, with Composer now, you can see at the top here, it talks about businesses and business teams self-serving. And by putting tools and features into the hands of business teams, they can help close this IT delivery gap by collaborating with IT. But we need to give them the tools to do that. So go ahead to the next slide, Vikas. And this is the thought, this is the vision behind a tool such as MuleSoft Composer, is the idea that IT and business can now drive innovation together. This idea of co-innovation. Both teams, both organizations can benefit. From the business side of it, they're able to be more collaborative with IT rather than just giving IT a set of requirements and expecting IT to deliver it. The business can now be seen as more of a partner and a collaborator. They're able to launch projects faster because they have teams and they have resources, right? Skilled resources that could do some more simpler integrations, right? But still provide these business teams the ability to access data safely. At the end of the day, right, from an IT perspective, security and governance and control to our systems always lies and is governed under the IT organization. So you can see the business benefits here, as well as how does IT benefit by co-innovating or collaborating with the business. By getting business resources involved, think about it, technically it expands the IT delivery team right, to help close that IT delivery gap so we can complete IT projects faster, because some of the more business focused projects or the simpler automations can be done by the business team. So that allows the IT team to focus on the more complex projects, the more complex integrations. IT access and governance to data still remains with IT, and IT still remains the tools to monitor overall activities and overall impact to the business. So with that type of a vision, that's where a composer gets introduced. And that's how we at MuleSoft are trying and working to transform businesses. So real quick, some history on MuleSoft Composer. It was first released strictly for Salesforce customers February of last year. So it's been generally available for a little bit over a year now. And then in November of last year, November 2021, we came out with MuleSoft Composer for Anypoint customers. It's the same product. I'll get into that in a little more detail in a few minutes. But overall, for Salesforce, we've been generally available with Composer for a little bit over a year. Excuse me. And for MuleSoft customers, it's been a shorter period, only about 4-6 months now. 6 months has MuleSoft Composer been available. And so what are we trying to do, right? We're trying to, serve both markets, serve IT with our Anypoint platform. We continue to invest heavily in Anypoint platform. Nothing's changed there. And the Anypoint platform is really meant, as everybody on this call surely knows, is really meant for development teams and architects to, connect anything, right? That's our new vision, is to be able to connect anything and you take advantage of reusable assets. So that Anypoint platform is targeted for our IT users.
Hi, Greg.
So
Sorry to cut you, but there's
sure.
from someone like, can we zoom a little bit, the screen?
Oh yeah.
Give try this.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's coming almost half of the screen.
Yeah, I am trying to zoom in my group down, but let me start presenting again. Give me a second.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Is it better now? Right.
No,
Not
I
yet.
think it's same. Yeah, this
There you go.
yeah, this was better.
Okay. Okay, we can go like on a full screen if you want to. Because when I'm going with the slideshow option, it is getting trimmed out in a small box. Are we good with this?
Is this okay, everyone?
I think they can't speak. The host mode can speak. Yeah. I think this is much better than the as compared to the previous one. Yeah, we can start. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Great. Thanks. So as you can see here, right, an Anypoint platform is targeted for IT, and that hasn't changed. And the investment we continue to make there will never end, right? That's our industry leading product. But what we're complementing the Anypoint platform with is on the right side over here for the business users, for those line of business users, what we call, create integrations faster, unleash innovation faster with what we call clicks, not code, right? And that's what this Composer product is and how it works. And you'll see a demo of that a little bit later. But notice that Composer is all about simple no code integrations with, as I said, clicks, not code. And you'll see some of that a little bit later in this presentation. So go ahead, next slide, Vikas. And here's Composer, and you have a little snippet of what the canvas looks like over here on the right. But this is what MuleSoft Composer is all about, is making it fast and easy for business teams to connect their applications. right? Business teams are, right, they just want to be able to connect two systems, and they expect to connect two systems to do their job. Right, we're trying to get out of this, what we call swivel chair transactions. We enter data in Salesforce, and then we have to turn around and enter data in NetSuite. Well, how can we quickly automate those systems to make business teams more productive through automation, through these flows? And we can also use Composer to create a more holistic view of the customer, right? With Salesforce and MuleSoft, that power of the customer 360 data platform. By connecting these systems using out-of-the-box connections, you can more quickly build that holistic view of customers. And we're also looking to use Composer to, as I mentioned, streamline experiences across the enterprise, right? Increase team productivity by automating certain business processes. And we'll get into some specific use cases here in a minute. So let's go to the next slide, Vikas. And this is what I mean about, the use cases we're addressing with Composer, and why we are, is because, these days business teams just expect to connect their applications. They expect data from multiple systems to be able to connect and synchronize quickly. And you can see some use cases here around sales, right? Connecting NetSuite inventory to orders in Salesforce, right? We support that now. For support organizations, when tickets are created, as you can see here, the example is in Zendesk or even ServiceNow. They want those tickets to create in maybe an engineering support ticket or a defect ticket in a Jira system automatically without having to enter data in both systems. For HR, I used to do a lot of work with HR systems consulting, and I know the onboarding process can at times be, very burdensome in terms of the number of steps to get an employee onboarded. Well, now it's possible to start automating those steps. Once an employee is actually onboarded and hired in Workday, you can connect to Workday and have it automatically connect to other systems with Composer. And finally, for marketing here you see a use case that talks about extracting marketing data from a Salesforce pipeline and pushing it into a Tableau dashboard for visualizations and analytics purposes. So we can support these use cases across the different lines of business, which is exactly what we're targeting with Composer. Next slide. And so what does that do over time? It creates more and more potential for connecting these simple integrations across lines of business. We saw, a handful of use cases on the previous slide, but you can see here for each line of business, whether it's sales operations, enhancing the employee experience, fostering team collaboration, especially with our Slack connector. It's fantastic. We use it internally a lot, as well as streamlining service and support organizations. You can see for each line of business, we now continue to support more and more business use cases. Okay. Next slide. And how do we do that, right? As I mentioned, for everyone on this call that's done a lot of development with the Anypoint platform, you're familiar with a lot of the out-of-the-box connectors that we have as part of our exchange. Well, we don't have as many for Composer, but we continue to build them in release. These connectors, as you can see, are continue to grow over time. When we went GA a year ago, I think we had maybe 6 connectors. We're already up to 18. So not only have we increased the number of systems we support with our connectors, but we continue to increase the features of each connector as well. So there's a lot of work, a lot of investment in these connectors. Now, for those of you that are developers, if you're thinking, why can't we just have all the connectors in Anypoint available in Composer? Remember, in Anypoint, that list in depth of connectors is available to developers, but it's up to the developer to put in a lot of parameters and enter a lot of more complex information to use those connectors. With Composer, our goal is to hide all that. Remember, this is clicks, not code. So what it requires is it requires more tooling and more engineering on the Composer developers to make these connectors available to line of business users, so that they just have to enter maybe some credentials or a URL, right, and instantly connect to these systems. So that's why there's not as many connectors available now as there are at any point, but we continue, as you see here, to increase the number of connections, because that's how we can support those limitless business use cases, is being by having Composer able to connect to, a growing number of systems. And that's done with these connectors. Okay, next slide. And here's where we start talking about more of the differentiation between IT and the line of business users, right? That they're looking for different things. Composer, as you can see here, as it says, it's built for the line of business. Because if you look here on the right, the line of business wants, but the line of business also requires ease of use, right? And being able to speed time to value and offer more personalized, specific use cases for their day-to-day integrations that they want to turn on quickly. So that's what Composer, that's the Composer value proposition. IT requires a much more full-featured, fully capable API lifecycle development, management, and monitoring platform that provides flexibility and scalability across deployment models, whether it's on-premise or microservices or our fully managed iPaaS solution, right? It requires governance and it requires security. Those are all table stakes. So this is where you can see the complementary Composer for the LOB versus the IT organization. Okay, next slide. And this is how it differentiates. So if you're wondering, how does what's AnyPoint's value proposition? What's Composer's? And how do they complement each other? This is a great slide to familiarize yourself with, or when you talk with customers, because surely we're going to get questions from customers on, how do we differentiate when to use which product? So you can see here, I won't go through all of it, but I do want to speak to the AnyPoint plus Composer swim lane around reuse, right? Composer, as you can see here, it's going to build on top of that composable enterprise that we always talk about as part of MuleSoft and the AnyPoint platform. And then the AnyPoint platform is still going to continue to enable to automate business processes. And we have more innovation coming around automation as well this year. As you can see here, Composer provides the ease of use that lines of business want quickly. And it also provides peace of mind for IT, because IT is going to provide overall governance and in the future, access to IT provided assets. I'll talk about that on another slide. And you can see it's flexible. AnyPoint and Composer, the value is around flexibility, choosing the right product for the right use case, and knowing that you still have the value of the MuleSoft platform that's powering both products. Okay. All right, next slide. And this is our vision. You can see here in the bottom right, it says future vision. Notice that as of right now, we're not fully there, but we are going to be there this year. This will happen this fiscal year. And that's pretty much all I can say about it, because this is a future product direction. But notice that, as I mentioned it quite a bit now, Composer is for the business teams, and you see that on the left. AnyPoint platform is for our IT organizations. You see that on the right. And right in the middle, you see this bi-directional arrow about automatically connects, right? No upgrade required. That's coming in the future, the near future. And what does that mean? It means IT organizations, as you can see here, will control access to data and connections. It will approve as part of deploying Composer flows to production. IT can be part of the workflow to QA and approve any Composer flow before it goes into production. And the biggest thing that this is going to allow when this connection is set up and established is users on the Anypoint platform from IT, and maybe you develop an API, right? And you want to share it with Composer users. You come up with, or you develop a custom connection, and you want to share it with your Composer users in Composer. Well, in the near future here, ability to do that. You're going to have the ability to create IT created assets that can be then shared with the Composer line of business users. Again, supporting all that reuse in time to value, right? It's not there, but it is coming soon. Okay. Thanks, Vikas. Next slide. All right. Hey, let's take a look at how it's built, right? You're probably going to have some questions about the underlying architecture and how it works, right? Excuse me. So here we go. Composer is built, purposely built to have a very simple, very easy to use, clicks not code user interface for our lines of business. As I mentioned, there's two different versions of the UI, but underneath it's the same Composer technology. It's the same infrastructure. There's a MuleSoft Composer, and that's a MuleSoft user interface for MuleSoft / Anypoint platform users. And then there's what we call MuleSoft Composer for Salesforce. That is for Salesforce customers only that subscribe to MuleSoft Composer. The MuleSoft Composer UI is actually delivered and installed and rendered inside a Salesforce cloud. That's the difference. MuleSoft only, you're going to log directly onto the MuleSoft UI. MuleSoft Composer for Salesforce, users log into their Salesforce cloud, and then they render the MuleSoft Composer UI. So it's a little bit different look and feel, but it's the same exact product besides that wrapper for the Salesforce UI. Okay. Go ahead, build out the slide. So now the next one. So notice that it's distinct yet complementary use cases, meaning you can see for both Composer UI and the Salesforce UI, it's the same behind the scenes. It's the same connectors. It's the same future ability for IT to provide assigned APIs from Anypoint. And you can see here at level 3, shared monitoring, security, and reuse. Composer is the same Mule runtimes that you're very familiar with. It's the same Anypoint platform services, but notice that Composer is only available in our managed environment only. So you're all familiar with Cloud Hub. That's our managed iPaaS. Composer is only offered and only runs on our managed platform. So there's no on-premise or any other cloud provider flexibility, okay? It's a fully managed product that we offer. Whereas with Anypoint, I'm sure this team's very familiar with Anypoint. Our UX is all around our Design Center Studio, as well as Runtime Manager. It has the full breadth of IT capabilities and assets that you're very familiar with. And the Anypoint platform provides that flexible deployment architecture across microservices, across clouds, and even on-premise deployments. Okay, so that's the difference. So this will help you think of, from an architecture point of view, the purpose-built UI, as well as the fact that behind the scenes, it's the same MuleSoft runtime. It's that same Anypoint platform engine that supports both products. Okay, and I think that's it. Next slide, Vikas. And now, thank you everyone for letting me provide all that information in background and history. I'm going to stay on for questions later. I'm going to turn it over to Vikas to finish out the presentation and the demo. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. It was a great session, I believe. We are able to understand the value proposition and what kind of MuleSoft UIs are available with Salesforce and with the Anypoint platform. And great to have you here. Thanks for handing it over to me. And
just one more thing, Vikas, sorry to interrupt you, to add and to hear it, Greg, from you yourself, because you are into MuleSoft and you're working behind all these things. So hearing it from you, and also hearing that, what are new features are coming in upcoming days. So that was really nice of you. Thanks.
Great, thanks. And team, just real quick before Vikas gets going. So I've been involved. Vikas and I work in the customer success organization within MuleSoft. I've been involved as a field specialist with Composer since it went GA over a year ago. Vikas has been focused on Composer now for several months. He and I are colleagues, and we have reached back into the broader Composer product and engineering teams. Excuse me. So we're great points of contact. If you have questions in the future, we can, note that, Vikas is fully dedicated to Composer. I'm practically fully dedicated to Composer. I love the product. And so just know that, we can answer questions today, but also in the future, given that too, we also have reached back into our engineering teams. Thank you.
Yeah, sure, Greg. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. Okay.
Yeah, so guys, just feel free to reach out to us. And with that, I will start with Composer features. So Composer as a product comes up with a lot of cool features. Okay, so naming few of them will help us understand the Composer perspective and the use cases better. So MuleSoft Composer makes it easy for you to perform integration tasks. It offers multiple features for building and running flows. You can connect as an authenticated user automatically to different systems. You can extract data from a connected system based on a specific event or schedule, like on a fixed frequency of 5 or 10 minutes and so on. Similar to our anypoint implementation, we have schedulers. We can have similar kind of implementation with our Composer flows as well. We can map the extracted data from one system to another, and we can view the sample data, output data, in every step. This really helps in understanding the input for your next stage. We can filter route data through a flow based on specific conditions and criteria, which we will surely look ahead in our demo today. And we will also loop through a collection of records and perform specific action on records. We must have seen various use cases where we see, okay, we have an array list to iterate over and do some specific actions or tasks. Example, if you want to perform some action on a list of accounts retrieved from Salesforce. So Composer can surely do that. We can synchronize data across different systems. This is the most common use case we have seen so far, where different business teams want to integrate their NetSuite with their Salesforce account and wants some data, some of the might be, let's say, the products or the accounts to be in sync. So Composer is a great help there, and it can surely do that easily with just clicks and no code. We can test, run, and monitor and manage flows also, and troubleshoot in case of any. We designed and built MuleSoft Composer with accessibility in mind and provide contextual in-app help on every step of the way. As I told you, we have every sample output, sample data available in every step of the flow. So that is a very good help while we design and work upon the flows. And one of the best things about Composer is that you have ready-to-use connectors, which Greg has already explained that we have around 18 plus connectors. And as we talk today, our teams are already working on creating the next few. So this really helps in developing and releasing new connectors. So we can connect to applications, data, and devices as your business requires. When a Composer user start creating a flow, a blank canvas appears. This canvas is the working area where you design a flow. So just to define you guys of what a flow is a sequence of steps that you assemble and configure to integrate systems and data. This is very similar to what we have in our Anypoint platform and Studio, MuleSoft Code. And when you design a flow, you can make use of number of components. Let's take a look at the key components which are available and how to use them. First is connection. A connection is a configuration that uses a connector and associated system credentials to connect to a system. The flow uses this connection at different steps to perform a specific task, such as connecting to a system, checking for triggers, or retrieving or manipulating data. In this example, the first connection at the top of the flow is to a Salesforce org, which you must be able to see on the screen as NTU production org. So that's where it points out to, okay, this is the connection this particular step is going to use. And next is trigger. The trigger kicks off the flow sequence of action. Every flow must have at least one trigger because that's where the flow starts from. The trigger can be an event that occurs on a system and passes data to the flow to kick it off. The trigger can also be an elapsed period of time, which is nothing but a scheduler-based flow. In this example, the trigger is an event, the creation or updating of an opportunity record in the connected Salesforce org. Next is we have if-else block. An if-else block evaluates data from the preceding step against a specific condition. If the data meets the condition, the flow takes a corresponding branch and performs one or more actions on that branch. And if the data does not meet the condition, the flow does not take that branch. This is very simple, a general if-else use case. In this example, the condition is met if the stage field of the opportunity record is equals to closed one. Next, sorry for that. An action is a task that the flow performs, such as extracting data from a system, manipulating data, or evaluating whether or not to take an action. In this example, if the stage field is equals to closed one, the next two actions are to get the accounts and all the products associated with the opportunity which we got from the trigger. For each block, so next key component is a for each block. For each block, iterates over records for the input data and perform one or more items, or let's say actions. In this example, the for each first iterates over each account in the input list, then it connects to NetSuite and creates a sales order containing all the products associated with that particular opportunity. To create flows easily and efficiently with MuleSoft Composer, we need to have a plan. We need to have some creation task. Let's say in API, you have a API lifecycle. Similar to that, in Composer flows, we need to perform a specific task for our flows to work efficiently, and we can build them easily. In my opinion, the most important task is to plan. First, identify the integration problems and come up with appropriate solution. Then identify the systems you need to access and the credentials you need to access those systems. Because if we don't have a plan, it's really hard to proceed further. And the data you want to retrieve and synchronize between those systems is a second part of the planning that we need to consider. Then we design and test. How do we do that? MuleSoft Composer, we will go to MuleSoft Composer, build our flows by adding and configuring relevant connections, triggers, if-else block, and branches for each blocks, etc. As you add each step to your flow, test it to ensure that the flow is working as required. After you have tested the entire flow, activate it so that it can start performing actions as per the desired integration task. Monitor and troubleshoot. After the flow is active, it continues to run in the background. If there is an issue with the running flow, MuleSoft Composer displays that on the information page, which is called a flow details page. Use this information for a failed instance to troubleshoot your flow. And over the time, you might feel, okay, this particular flow which you have created is no longer serving your purpose or the intended purpose. Go forward and deactivate it. So those are the key creation tasks which we need to consider when we create or the side of it. And finally, we have arrived to the most interesting part. And now I'll take you through a sample Composer flow. So let me quickly switch to the Composer tab homepage. So it might just take a second. Bear with me. Okay. Give me a thumbs up in chat, guys, if once the Composer screen is visible. I mean, the home screen is visible to you guys. Okay, thanks, Craig. Okay, so finally, this is the most interesting part. Until now, we have learned about a lot of Composer features and the key components and the creation task which we need to consider. Let's see all of this getting into action. Today, in this demo, we will see a common integration use case where we have two systems involved, which is Salesforce and Slack. The requirement for this integration is very simple. The use case states that we need to post a message to a Slack channel whenever there is a new /update case in a Salesforce. So that basically our relevant teams in the Slack can collaborate and work upon a case. It's very important for the business team to get these two systems connected. We do have a few condition check as well. According to the case and the priority, when it requires engineering assistance or not, we need to decide the Slack channel accordingly. Today, we'll go through a flow which is built in Composer for Salesforce. As this is embedded in Salesforce UI, so we call it Composer for Salesforce. So in the interest of time, I have already created a Composer flow, and it's good to mention that it's all by clicks and no code. So we will just have a look. So this is how the home screen of a MuleSoft Composer looks like when we see the Composer for Salesforce, and then we will just hover on to the Composer flows. And these are few of the recent flows which I'm currently working upon. So for this particular demo, as I told you, we will be working on Salesforce Slack integration. So I will directly jump into the canvas, which we were talking earlier. Give me a second as it loads. Okay, yeah, here we are. So as we talked about, like, connection is very important. Connection is where we use different URL to a different systems, I mean, user credentials and etc. So the first step is trigger, where a usual Composer flow starts with, right? As I told you, have a Composer flow. This is where the flow initiates and the data kicks in. It can also be a scheduler in some cases, depending upon the use case. But for this case, we have a very simple requirement that whenever there is a new or updated record of object type case in the Salesforce production org, we need to trigger this flow. So this first step of the Composer flow is a trigger where we are trying to get cases from Salesforce org. As I told you, in the list of features, we have the sample output at each and every step. So once you have selected a particular record, I mean object type, there is a way to select the resultant fields, because a Salesforce case object type can have a lot n number of fields, right? But there are cases that we might only need few according to our business requirement. So we have an option to select fields and just select ones which are required to be returned by this particular stage. And on the right hand side of this step, you will be able to see the sample output, what kind of information you will get, and all the fields which you have selected. So in the next step, as I told you, we will be also using the if else block in our cases or in our demo today. You must be able to see that if else is very simple, and you have few conditions and criteria to meet, and according to it, we will take the next action items. So if you see in this particular block, there's a criteria that all condition must be met. That's why we have used AND operator in this case. And as per our requirement said that we need to post a message to a Slack channel depending upon the condition checks. So for this condition, we have priority equals to high, and requires engineering assistance is a checkbox field in the Salesforce org. So we can go with the operator as is true. If these both conditions are going to be true, then the stage 2 will come into action, which is posting a message to a high priority Slack channel. Because the case which we got from the trigger requires engineering assistance and the priority is high, we have taken a decision to post a message to a channel which is having a channel ID XYZ. In this case, might be a different one. And then we have message, which can be done with a custom expression editor. You can use these data fields because this will carry dynamic value every time according to the trigger or the event which this flow has received. So we have just configured a sample message which says a new and updated case ID, and it comes along with a description and the account ID, also the priority. Bot name and bot icon is something which is very optional here. In this case, by default, MuleSoft Composer is having a bot name and icon which goes to the Slack, and it shows as a connected app there. And the second condition which we talked about was according to the priority when it is medium. So when the priority of this particular case, which we have received from the trigger, is medium, we will take a different set of action, which is posting a message to a support Slack channel where engineering team is not involved. So again, I have formulated this message with the custom expression editor where we have case ID, account ID, description, and priority, and just selected a channel according to my conditions which are met, which says that the priority is equals to medium. So this is how a Salesforce Composer flow looks like. And with just by clicking on some of the drop down items, choosing data from the fields, we have, sorry for this, we have configured our complete use case, which is around getting a Slack notification whenever there is a change or updated record of object type case. So I hope this particular demo or the flow has covered a lot of items which we discussed earlier, like the key components of a flow and also the features. But before we end up with the demo part, I would also like to present you the flow details page. Okay. Discard changes. So this is the flow which we were looking at, Salesforce. So this is the UI, or basically the place which is called a flow details page. Here you can see maximum information like who has created this particular flow, when it was created, what was the last modified date and time, and what is the current active stage, whether it's inactive or active. Depending upon this status, you must be also having a run history. If it is active, it must be running as of now as well. But just for the sake of not wasting a lot of time, just for deploying this particular composer, I made sure that I have few of the run history already available here, which was executed on this particular start date, it ended at this particular time, and also the status. This UI helps you to also debug and understand which particular transaction or the run has failed. And you can also filter these according to your needs, like status success, status failed, or might be the any status. So this is just a quick gist of how MuleSoft Composer looks like, how a flow can be created, how to look up for a flow detail for your business, common integration use cases. So that's all from my side when it comes to the demo part. In case you guys are more interested, we can surely plan some other demos ahead, depending upon your interest and feedback. So let me quickly switch over to my presentation. Okay, wait a second for that. Okay. So we are done with the Composer demo. I hope you guys must have found it insightful and interesting. And just to end with that, we have few of the resources to share with you. So we are also hosting this Composer office hours on every Thursday. So here's the link to that. It is also available on meetups.mulesoft.com/MuleSoft Composer. You guys can come in and join and also give your inputs there and understand how Composer product team can help you. And if in case you need any help regarding your topics or might be tips and tricks, you can also join our Trailblazer community. And that's all from my side for today. Hope this was insightful, and might be over to you, Greg, if in case you want to add something here.
Oh, that was great. Thanks, Vikas. Oh, yeah, folks. I hope you found this helpful and knowledgeable. Judd, one thing I wanted to end with is I forgot to mention it up front. Composer's off to a really good start in terms of number of customers, right? Many on this team, if not already know, but we have thousands of Anypoint customers, right? Globally. Composer, as of last week, we had over 260 plus customers on Composer. So we've only been, generally available, across Salesforce customers for a little over a year, but specific customers only for 6 months. And we're expecting to go from 200 plus customers now to over 1,000 customers this year. So the targeted growth for this is very large because as you can see the business proposition, the value proposition for getting business teams to integrate, do some simple integrations and flows is very large. So in terms of how fast we expect this product to grow, pretty fast. Thanks.
So Supriya, how would you like to have the Q&A part? I guess you're on mute.
Yeah.
I was on mute. I'm sorry. So yes, I think having said that, if they have mentioned that if any questions are there, you guys can connect us over this thing.
You know what? I'd like to answer Zainu's question. I see Zainu put a question in chat. So Zainu, first, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Number two, is Composer available for business teams and developers, or is it just accessible for business teams? The answer is both. Absolutely. Developers can use Composer. It's targeted at line of business users. No reason developers can't have access to it. During the subscription process for Composer, what will happen is once that sale is completed, the Salesforce sales resources have specific names of people within a customer organization, and they will be sent a welcome email and be granted administrator privileges to Composer. And as administrators, they can invite any user from their organization to log into Composer. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, he's saying, okay, thanks.
Okay, so is Composer available for business team and developer, or is it only accessible for business teams? This is a question from Zainu Kedir.
Supriya, you already answered the question.
I, I,
Correct.
yeah, I just answered
Okay,
it.
okay, okay, then that's great. I thought he's newly added. This session was quick, crisp, and amazingly informative. Thanks, Greg and Vikas. Meenakshi has said that. So, yeah, I agree with you, Meenakshi. Very well
Thanks.
said. Thanks for that. The time for a trivia quiz. So, I'll be posting a questions and some of the options. So, Vikas and Greg are the people who will just confirm that if the answer is right or not, and then we'll start picking up a people. So whoever like answers first and right, that person will get the training voucher. Okay, so I'm just posting the questions. Sumit, let's have an eye on the screen.
Yeah. Supriya, you are on mute. Please unmute yourself.
I am so sorry. Yeah. So I'm putting the questions in the chat window itself, so everybody have an eye there itself. Okay.
Okay. In case you want, I can also present those questions.
Yes.
Okay. Let me do that quickly.
Which benefit was not a business benefit of IT and business co-innovation? Collaborate with IT, launch project, faster complete IT project, faster access data safe.
I guess there is some issue on Supriya's end.
Yeah, I think there are some answers like Kalyani,
Okay.
Sahil, Maliswari, Ashish has. So, Vikas, can you please confirm which is the right answer?
Yeah, Sahil is correct with that. And
Yeah,
if we have
Sahil is
more,
correct.
yeah.
Okay, and right now I'll just try to post the questions in the lines because it came into the one line when I started
Wait.
pasting.
Before you pose the second question, just so Sahil
Yes.
Naik, since you have won the
Can
first
you
one,
please
can you
send?
please send your email ID?
Okay, Sumit. So have we noted the email ID? Yeah. Okay. So I'll just pose the
So
second question now.
before we proceed with that, is it okay if I present that on the screen? Because that's also a request from Mohan.
Because what happens, Vikas,
Mhm.
we have to catch
Okay.
somebody who's like posting the answers directly. So that's the way everybody will have an eye on the chat window itself, where we are intending to take up the answers. That's the reason.
Cool. Cool.
Okay, so this is a question: how many connectors are currently available for Composer? And the options are here, so you can pick one. Okay, so I think okay, people have started answering. Vikas, can you
Yeah.
please confirm the right answer?
Sorry.
Vikas, you're on mute. It's 18.
Yes.
Yeah, and we have it
So
from
Mohan has answered the first. Yeah,
Yes.
Mohan has answered. So Mohan, can you please send your email ID to us? And the best part is Mohan, Maliswari, Akshay, you guys have posted your answer before I posted the option that I did purposely. But yeah, just to check. Yeah, thank you. So thanks, Mohan, for the email ID. Okay, this is the third question. Which key component evaluates data from the preceding steps against a specific condition? Here also I'm expecting answer before I post the options. Okay. Here are the options. Okay, so the options are if else block, for each, action, and trigger. Okay. Meenakshi said if else.
Yep.
Okay.
Meenakshi
Some
got
more
this one
answers,
very
some
fast.
more answers. Yeah. So because the right answer is,
Meenakshi's, if it's.
yeah. So Meenakshi's answer is right. So Meenakshi, can you please send your email ID to us? Meenakshi, please send your email ID. Thank you, Meenakshi. Okay, Sumit, can you please come on the video? Okay, so everybody. So this is how we end the trivia quiz. We have got our three winners. Thank you so much for participating, and this proves that you were like concentrating throughout the session. And Greg and Vikas, again, it was a wonderful session, especially to hear it from you guys because you are somebody who's like working behind this composer feature. So that's amazing to know it from you, and thank you. And just I'll just request everybody to be on the video so that we can just capture one good picture. Sumit, are we giving accesses to people, right?
Yeah, I'm giving.
We are just making your presenting mode on so that you guys can come on video. Hello, Francis. And needless to say, but guys, if you fill up the feedback forms, then we'll understand more. And also make sure that you will tell us that what you want to see in the upcoming meetups. For most of the people, we have started the presenting mode on. So I request all of you all to come on video, please.
Yeah, I think everyone.
Yeah,
Uh,
I now see everybody. If
yeah.
anybody is missed out, hello, Minakshi. Thank you, guys. Videos, please. Put on your videos.
It's okay. I think we can click Supriya.
Yeah, I've clicked one. Okay, so I think Vikas and Greg, any queries if they are coming to me, I'll make sure that I'm forwarding those queries to you because later also
Sure.
people who have registered. Actually, we have got a lot of participants, but we can understand it's Saturday, and on top of that, like we are connecting in the evening and the various zone. So some of them I could not join. So they'll definitely see the recording, so that will be posted. Okay, and thank you everybody for joining. Vikas and Greg, thank you so much for conducting the session.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Greg and Vikas.
Bye
Have a great
bye.
weekend.
Bye bye,
Thanks,
Yeah.
Supriya.
everybody.
Thanks, Sumit. Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us. Bye bye.
Bye bye.